My name is Harold Hutton Sr. I enlisted from I lived up in north of Rome, New York, and at the time I enlisted, they weren't taking, in 1941, at that time the Marine Corps was only about 60,000 in the whole Marine Corps, and I had to wait until September before they took us. And they only took 3 from this area, and they shipped 3 of us to Syracuse, where we joined with 5 more from Oswego and Fulton. And there's only 8 from the entire central New York area. At that time, of course, before Pearl Harbor. They weren't taking anybody. And I enlisted. I was 21 years old. I got tired of working in a factory because I'm an outdoors type of guy, and I like the outdoors. And they shipped us down to the embassy, South Carolina, on the train. Then, of course, we went to Mare Island, went through boot camp. And after boot camp, by the way, I enlisted September 1941. I think I said that anyway. But anyway.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
You want to do
Wade,
that?
I think Wade would like to take your
Would this
glasses.
bother you if I took these out of your pocket, sir?
No.
I'll just set them down here on the floor, then we can just kind of close this up
Yeah.
and match the other pocket over here. How would that be?
Just think that one's not closed up yet. Put the button in. Yeah.
Button them down?
Nicer, yeah. That would look a little nicer.
I can't do that from over here. I can't do that one-handed. I'm not a good parent. There I go. Now I
You
can.
can't do that for
I
your
can't
kid
do
either,
that.
right? You send him to mom.
Okay, Dad.
Now we're ready. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay. All right. Now you were saying you enlisted when you were 21 years old.
Yes. And would send us down to Syracuse. There was 3 of us in this area. Paul Durst from Frankfurt, Jack, I forgot his name, senior moment, from Ilion, Jack Parkinson from Ilion, and myself. And they sent us down to the embassy, South Carolina, which is at that time was this side of the bridge from Mare Island. And they lined us all up beside the train, and the drill instructors come along and picked us out who they wanted for their platoons. And I got picked out for one platoon, and they went to the next one. And then after boot camp, while at boot camp, we took tests for different things we wanted to, and I wanted to go for radio because I was pretty good at code, reading code. And that's about all they did to us is read code, send code, and I passed, and I went to radio school in Quantico, Virginia. And it was there that one Sunday, we had just got done eating dinner, and Quantico, Virginia is a small town separated by railroad tracks. And on one side, it's the Marine installations, Marine Corps schools, and on the other side, the town. And we had eaten dinner, and we were down in a small tavern. There's 3 of us, we were good friends, and having a beer. And there's a radio on the back bar, the cathedral type, the round type like that. And we come with a radio, the Japs had bombed Pearl Harbor. That's where I was when I got the news in Quantico. Well, we finished radio school, and they sent us down to some of us down to Camp Lejeune. And, well, it wasn't Camp Lejeune then, it was called New River. And I was put in a Special Weapons Battalion. And the job there, it was nice because I rode out in vehicles out to the Onslow Beach where we were practicing firing 75 millimeter cannons because it was special weapons. And our job, they took us out on the beach. We were over the back of a big sand dune, and our job was to watch ships going by so that if we saw any smoke, to tell them not to fire because the shells might ricochet and hit the ship. Well, that was good duty because we used to ride out and back, and these other guys are all walking. Well, all of a sudden, they transferred 2 of us into the 7th Marine Regiment, and overseas we went, just quick like that. We went through the Panama Canal. Well, the first night out of Newport News, Virginia, they fed us pork chops. Well, you don't eat pork chops when you first go out on a ship, if you're subject to, you know, seasickness. So there's a French word for it. But I was smart enough to ride on all my trips on the ships. I tried to ride in the center of the ship, because you ride in the center of the ship's going like this, and you're not going much. But you get up in here, you're going up and down real good. So they served pork chops the first night. I didn't eat, but we went through the Panama Canal, and we went to British Samoa. And I didn't realize till years afterwards why we were in Samoa, except that the Seabees were there building an airfield. But years later, I saw where the Jap perimeter coming down through the Pacific, one of the next group of islands to be taken was a Samoan group. And apparently that's why obviously that's why we were there. So we were there the summer of 1942. In fact, the matter is, we couldn't tell where we were because our mail was all censored. But it just happened to be that there was an article in that April issue of Reader's Digest about Robert Louis Stevenson. Robert Louis Stevenson is buried on British Samoa, where we were. So we wrote home and told our folks to read the article on Robert Louis Stevenson in Reader's Digest, to read a certain page and everything. And that's how they found out where we were, until the censors caught on, and then they started clipping, because they cut big holes in your letters, you know. So we were there that summer, and then we left, it was in August, we left there, and the ship went south to, we stopped at a place called the Tonga Islands, and there was the aircraft carrier Saratoga was there with a great big hole in its side, and they had it weighted on one side so that the hole was out of the water, and they were repairing it. And then the next stop we had was a place called Espiritu Santo. We're heading up in the northwest direction, and that was unique in that this island was British and French, and they had a flagpole on each side of the building, and one was French flag and the other was a British flag. And after we left there, we saw a live volcano, smoke coming out, and then there was rumors that we're going to the Santa Cruz Islands. Well, it turned out that that's not where we went. We went to Guadalcanal. We went into action with the Japs. It turned out that they had a big battle on September 13th and 14th in Guadalcanal, and they needed help. So instead of us going to Santa Cruz, we went over there, and we landed there September 18th. The original landing in Guadalcanal was August 7th, but the Japs ran off into the boonies, and there was no action there for quite a while. And then, of course, later on there was, because they thought it was a hit-and-run raid. So we had several battles there and patrols and different things. There's quite a few things happened. I never got wounded there, but we were on a patrol one time, and we stopped in a clearing, and there was a Jap sniper way up in a high tree, 30, 40 feet up, I guess, and he was firing a machine gun at us, and I could see as he come down through, we hit the deck, and I could see that line of fire coming right towards me as he come along like this, and I froze. I couldn't move. All I had to do was crawl up like that, up this bank. I was leaning against the bank, and after he got done firing, I looked down, and right there's where my dungaree jacket, there was a bullet hole on each side where he just went through like that. That's the closest I remember getting wounded. But I did get a bunch of tropical diseases like malaria and a whole bunch of stuff like that. But there was several battles. We had, I was a field radio operator, and I went out every third day. We had the line companies went out on patrol in the daytime. Of course, at nighttime is the only time the Japs fought. And then I would have went out every fourth day because there was 4 of us privates. At that time, we were privates. And we encountered Japanese resistance and different things like that. We had one patrol, I remember in particular, where the big river that there was a lot of action on the Japs on one side and us on the other was on the western side of the perimeter. It's called the Quantico River. And this one time we were going down, there was a trail. By the way, the trails were no wider than this hardly. And then there was dense jungle, and you couldn't see either side of you. So when you went on patrol, you went single file. You didn't do like they did the open field stuff, you know. And this one time, this trail went, it was a few feet, several feet away from the banks of the Quantico River, protected by trees. And we came to this one, as we were going down, we headed for the beach to help out this other forces. There was a deep ditch, and there was a log across. You could call it a log bridge. And we had to run across. As you ran across, the Japs over there would fire at you. There was a fellow from Utica named Micus. I saw him. He was about the third guy ahead of us. He got killed right there on that bridge. And we had several battles. I don't know. We got down this one time. We got down to the beach, and we found several bodies where some guys ahead of us had tried to cross and got killed. And another time we were going on back in the boonies, going on a patrol in the back. We came across in the late afternoon. We came across a bunch of Japs, and there was a firefight. And that night, our captain wanted a message sent back to the division for some help, because we had seven of our guys were killed. And I was the best guy in the outfit. I know I'm not the end, but I was the best guy for sending code. And the colonel made the message up, and about midnight that night, the captain held a flashlight, because we were not supposed to have any lights, held a flashlight while I sent code back to the division. Now, there's a message in the book, or an article, a section in the book that says that the message was sent back. You don't say who sent it, but I was the one that sent that message. Well, it worked down, didn't it?
Yeah, it did work its way down. Yeah.
It worked down.
Yeah, because the stories are pretty incredible.
Well, you stopped now, are you?
No, that's okay. We'll just edit past it. We can take parts out. No, nobody said who sent it, but that was you.
Yeah.
Who sent that message.
Yes, I sent the message. Another time we had they anticipated out in the western side of the perimeter, Quantico River again. They anticipated the Jap push because they landed a bunch of troops up on the west end of the island. And by the way, the reason they could land them is because we didn't have any support, any air support or any naval support. The Navy was short of ships. And in the book, they even tell you at one time there was a message sent to our General Vandergrift, who was in charge of our forces on Guadalcanal, that gave him permission to surrender in case the Japs got to us, you know. And they could land up there on the end of the island day and night, and most of the time nobody bothered them for a while. And also for a while, all we had was to eat was captured Jap rice and coconuts and stuff like that. We were short in October of 1942. It was tough. I don't know how much I weighed, but I know that I was on one patrol, and I felt like wishing some Jap would shoot me so that I wouldn't have to go through it anymore. It was pretty rough. But this one time, they anticipated the Japs pushing from the western, across the Quantico River coming in because of the forces they landed. So they took on our, well, it'd be our left flank. They took that battalion, the 3rd Battalion, and sent them out there to help out to support it. They took half of our battalion and took their place, so that we had the place of 2 battalions on the line on the southern edge of the perimeter. So we were thin, and the Japs hit us that night, and it was pouring down rain. And in fact, according to the book, I didn't know it until afterwards that it was a good thing it did rain, because they held the Japs up a little bit. But that night, the guy named Basilone fired his machine gun, and he killed Jap after Jap. As one layer of Japs would get killed, some more would crawl over the top, and he'd shoot some more, kill some more. And next morning, they were stacked about 5 high, like cordwood. And he got a Medal of Honor for that. Unfortunately, he went on and come back to the States and went in the 4th Division and got killed in Iwo, I think. But that night, I was scared. The colonel used me for a runner, and as I said, it was raining, and it was dark, real dark, and I was sent to the right flank to take a message to the company commander, and I knew the way because we'd come that way when we got there, and I felt my way over there, and I got over there and back, but I was scared because the Japs did break through a couple times. And there's things like that happened to us. And there's another incident that was, you ever hear Chester Nimitz? Chester Nimitz was in charge of all the naval and marine forces in the Pacific. And he came down, he stopped one time on the island after things got going a little better, and he wanted to see an air raid, because the Japs came over every day at noon, and the bombers would come over and bomb the airfield, and they were supported by Zeros, fighters. And then after they got by, then our Seabees would rush out and fix the matting on the airfield, and our planes would take off. And Joe Foss was one of them. I think he got a Medal of Honor too. He ended up being the governor of South Dakota, Joe Foss. Anyway, then there'd be dogfights, and Chester Nimitz wanted to see a dogfight, so he came up on our ridge. We were bivouacked on what they call Bloody Ridge, and he came up on the ridge, and they obliged. They gave him a dogfight. But I was lucky because I wasn't on patrol that day, and he passed the bottle around, so I had a sip out of his bottle, which is a rare for us because we didn't even have cigarettes yet. Cigarettes came later. Later on, they brought us beer about maybe November or something like that. They brought us beer. It was warm, but it was beer. November 13th and 14th, during the night, we woke up to a bunch of loud noises, and we looked out across the channel because we were on a ridge. We could look out over the top of the trees, and it turned out it was a big naval battle going on. And there would be the best fireworks I think I ever saw. There was the big red globs going across the sky like this, red balls and red belt. There were tracers, they tell me, that Japs were firing back and the Americans were firing back and forth. And then I saw a light going, a big floodlight. I saw that. And that's mentioned in the book about the floodlight. I saw that floodlight. And the next morning there was ships burning. And of course we lost a lot of men. There was a guy named Callahan, a Navy admiral in charge of that, our Navy group that time, that he goofed up. He didn't listen to the one ship that had radar. Radar was new then. Nobody knew what radar was. We had it, and this one ship told him there's somebody coming, and he didn't pay any attention to it. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. Another time, I got real sick a couple times there, and one time we were out in the eastern end, and the Japs opened up on us, but I got sick. I got sent back to what they call the field hospital, And if I hadn't have gone sent back, I may not have been here talking to you, because two of my good friends got it right then. And I always felt bad over that, you know, that they got killed.
And how did you, this was really your first battle scene, you know, being there. How did you handle this?
Well, I probably should have told you about the first night. Hey, we all get scared. The first night we landed, they stacked up all our supplies and a whole bunch of supplies and stuff. Our ships came in, had supplies too, on the beach. They loaded everything they could on the beach, and what they didn't unload, they went back to Noumea, New Caledonia. And that night, and we were in the coconuts, just inland a little bit. Those islands are fringed with coconuts, and then in the center, there's mountains and grassy areas. And we were in probably a couple 100 feet or more back. And that night I woke up, well, they told us to dig foxholes. Well, I went down about 6 inches, and it was core rock. And you don't dig very good in core rock, it's hard. So that was good enough for me, you know, until we started hearing these shells crashing. It turned out it was a cruiser throwing shells at us. And there was anti-personnel shells, and this one hit a coconut tree right near me, probably, I would say maybe 20 feet from me, about 20 feet up, and snapped the tree off, but the shrapnel scattered around and got two of our guys. And I heard this one guy, he's right close to me, it is to you. I heard him groan a couple of times, but didn't know what happened until morning, and it killed him. Shrapnel got him right in the abdomen. And but you ought to see us dig then. We really dug. And what made it more eerie was it was misty rain, and their spotter from the cruiser dropped flares. And as those flares come floating down like this, you know, come down like this, and you're looking up at them like that, it's really eerie. But we had no defense against this cruiser. That cruiser just allowed those shells in there. That happened a lot of times when I was there. We just didn't have any naval defense. And scared? I guess I was scared.
I guess I wonder what mechanisms people use. What do you use to keep yourself going? Did you ever hear from family at that time? You were pretty isolated. You know, what was the circumstance?
No, we didn't hear from family. We didn't get any mail for a long time. No, I said there was no communications. The only communication we had with Noumea, well, possibly the general might have had radio communication with Noumea, but as far as any planes coming back and forth, every day about 4 o'clock, a DC-3 would fly in from Noumea, which was the big supply base out at that time in New Caledonia, with medical supplies, and fly out the wounded. And that was the only thing. No other planes coming in or going, there were no ships coming in or going. That was it. As far as taking care of yourself, we were right near the river. In the daytime, we could go down to the river and bathe and wash clothes. But of course, had guys watching with security, watching for Japs. There was a bridge there called the Jap Bridge, but that was fun. But after a while, they got so pretty good. And then in December, 1st December, the Army relieved us. And we waited about a month for our ship to come in, almost, and then it did come in, and we went to, we were supposed to go to Brisbane, but Brisbane has malaria, Australia. So instead of that, we went to Melbourne, and I had another malaria attack. I had a lot of them. And I went straight to the hospital in Melbourne, Australia. And I was there ambulatory and in the hospital and ambulatory and with malaria. And then they put me in what they call a casual company, and all of a sudden, unexpectedly, they put me on a ship and sent me back to the United States. And I come back, and I was in the hospital 9 months in San Diego, part-time ambulatory, And then finally, they put me in a casual company, and I went to Mare Island Navy Yard in California and stood guard duty for a year until VJ Day. And then after VJ Day, I got my discharge, come home. And
Coming home like?
oh, well, believe it or not, by that time I'd been married and had a child. I got married in 1944, and then my wife came out in March of '44, and then the first baby was born in March of '45, and she's born in the Naval Hospital up in Mare Island Navy Yard. Then I said I was there until VJ Day, and then a month after VJ Day, or a little less than that, well, more than that, almost 2 months, because VJ Day was early August, and I got out September 29th. I was in a little over 4 years. I don't know if I've forgotten anything or not, but
What was life like before you went in? And then what was it like after you came out?
well, I came through the Depression, graduated from high school. There was nothing to do, and I got some odd jobs and different things. And then when I turned 17. My dad got me a job in Rome at what they call the Federal Creosote Company, stacking ties. Now these are railroad ties. After they come out of the tar pits, they're put up on big stacks and dried railroad ties, and that's where I got my Social Security card in January 1937. I was just turned 17, and believe it or not, that Social Security card I still got in my pocket. Went all through the war with me, and then that didn't last long. It lasted to June. And then I went up in the Adirondacks and worked a little bit. And I come home, and then I started hitchhiking around. I went to Florida. Then I started hoboing. I rode freight trains for a while. And finally in 1939, I went in the CCCs, Civilian Conservation Corps. I was in Sherburne. I was there a year and a half. And we were just getting out of the Depression then. We got $30 a month. 25 went home, and we kept 5. So that's all I had to spend for toothpaste and stuff like that. Most of the guys, a lot of the guys, the folks getting back the $25, but my folks needed it. So that we had a big family. So after I come out of the CCCs in September of 1940, I went back to work at Revere Copper and Brass in Rome. And then I worked there a year, and that's when I went in the Marine Corps. By the way, my pay in the Marine Corps when I first went in was $20 a month. $10 the first month they kept for the bucket and the brush and stuff like that. So that I only got $10 the first 2 weeks rather. The first 2 weeks I didn't get anything rather. And I was lucky that because I went in the service, Revere Copper and Brass gave guys that went in the service at that time some kind of what you might call bonus. And my dad sent me some money for bonus. There was, I don't know what it was, but I don't remember. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have had anything, you know. But then after we was in, I don't forget how long we were in, they automatically jumped our pay to $30 a month in the Marines. So then we got more. Then I got the money, big money. I come out a corporal because because I had so much hospital time, my rate was frozen. I mean, I got my corporal's promotion when I went to Australia, but I never went back to duty with it. And I said after that, because I was on what they call limited duty, when I got back to the States, I couldn't make sergeant, couldn't do it. I did get an opportunity when it come time for me to get out. There was 3 Marine installations on Mare Island Navy Yard. I had an opportunity to be promoted to platoon sergeant, which is 3 stripes up and 1 across, and work with a lieutenant that was promoted from the ranks, which is the best kind, because he was a platoon sergeant and he got a officer's commission. And we were to organize and direct sports activities between the 3 units in the Mare Island Navy Yard, and also to show training films and stuff like that. It was really a racket. And but I enlisted for 4 years. My 4 years and 26 days I was over. I had a chance to get out and come home. I said, no way, I come home. And I don't know whatever would happen to me if I'd have stayed, but it would have been a racket. Because we were in Navy housing, my wife, my daughter. It was good duty, really. But I didn't take it.
So instead, you went with your wife to raise your family. Do you have other children?
Oh yeah, I had 9. We had 9. Yeah, we had 9, and 2 of my boys were in the Navy. One of them lost his life in 1978 on an aircraft carrier called, it was actually a helicopter carrier in the Atlantic on the USS Guam. And that was, he only had a little while more to go. His 4 years are up, and he was going to come out and go to college on the Navy, on the government, but it never happened.
So you've been on both sides of that. You're the dad of a veteran, lost
Yeah,
serviceman, and you were there yourself.
yeah. Well, my other son, during the Vietnam, he was in the Navy. He was attached to an air wing and based mostly in Hawaii, but he was in the Philippines. And also he was in Thailand. He was not actually in Vietnam. He was in Thailand. He was a parachute rigger. And a parachute rigger, every time a pilot goes out with a plane, he takes a parachute. When it goes back, even though he don't use it, they take it apart and redo it all over again. And every few, you never know which one, every few that you do, if you're a parachute rigger, they make you go jump in it to make sure you do a good job. That's the truth. Yeah, but my son loved it. When he come out, he had a parachute, and he had it in his room. He had it anyway, the big silks, He had it hanging out of the ceiling.
Do you have grandchildren?
Oh yeah, great grandchildren. I got 13 grandchildren, and I don't remember now how many great grandchildren I got. I got to figure it out. I got 3 there, and 2 there is 5. I guess I got 5.
If you wanted to pass on something from your experiences, obviously you must have passed something on. Your sons went into the service as well. But what would you want those grandchildren and great-grandchildren to know? What would you want them to keep based on your experience?
Well, I suppose you learn discipline, number 1. That's something you don't learn, I don't think, anywhere else. Maybe you learn how to honor your country when you go in. That's one thing they do. I don't know really what, I haven't given any thought, but I know discipline is one thing.
Did you talk much to your family about your experiences? Did you find it easy to do that?
Not for years. It's only since I've been retired that I started thinking about these things. I've been retired 20 years now. And I guess I was too busy raising a family, playing softball, bowling, and I guess didn't have much time to stop and think about the things that happened to me years ago. But I found out in the last few years even, my daughter asked me, by email, of course. She's out in Oklahoma. How do I remember people's names, the guys' names? All these names are coming back to me. And I got more time to think about it, I guess. Because I'm not active now since I had my cancer. And I'm a great guy for gardening, but I'm slowing up on that now, I think. I am a gardener.
What kind of residual effects did you have from all the hospital time? You had a lot of hospital time while you were in the service.
Yes.
Did you have any lingering problems from that?
You mean from my...
From the malaria and the different diseases?
Well, yeah, I had malaria for years after, and then I had amoebic dysentery. It's called amebia now. And let's see, the hookworm they give me a big pill for, and filariasis. And filariasis is where your arms or legs or different parts of your body swell up abnormally, and it's a worm. It gets in the ducts. Your muscles are lubricated with by fluid in the ducts, and this worm gets in there and plugs it up. And when it does, that part swells up. I had it in my right shoulder, and I had it pretty bad, but living in a temperate climate, I guess it went away. But at one time, they gave me disability on it. And malaria, I know I've had some since, but I don't think, not recent years, but I had some malaria attacks. And but I didn't realize there was such a thing as a Veterans Administration that might take care of some of this. And I couldn't afford a doctor. I had a big family. I wasn't getting much money, actually, compared to some people got. So I just wrote it out. My wife would bring up cold towels and put them on my forehead, and like that when I had the malaria attacks. And eventually, after a few days, it'd go away. And then that'd go for a while. And eventually, the VA took the compensation away from me, but I still get anemia, which is also some kind of a worm, I guess, in my intestines. But I still get that compensation. Oh yeah, I had it for a while. Yeah.
So it never quite leaves you.
No, that don't. No, it affected me. It affected me all these years, I guess. Yeah.
What do you think you'd want if you could talk to soldiers now, you know what they're going through, what would you say to them? Maybe for their survival?
Well, I don't know. I think that probably the best thing is to use the equipment that they give you, because just as soon as you don't wear your helmet, you might get beamed. You know what I mean? That's those kind of things. I don't know. Probably do as you're told, although you might have some renegade officer send you someplace where you shouldn't. But for the most part, they're actually looking out for you. I know that there's guys that didn't go by the book sometimes and ended up with court martials and stuff. And I tell you, being in the brig, I never was there, but being in the brig in the military is no fun. So, and when you have a trial, it's not like a trial in civil trial. When you have a military trial, you got just some officers there, and you're guilty till proven innocent. In the civil trial, you're innocent till proven guilty. So just watch your P's and Q's, as they say. Yeah. I don't know what else I could tell them.
Well, certainly your experience has been something worth remembering. Would you hold some of these up for us and show us some of these things that you brought?
Well,
You did talk about the book, so I'll have you hold that up. You can talk about that, and you can hold it up, and Wade can take a picture of it.
well, this is one book. There's another book there too.
Yes, this one. This is pictorial history.
No, isn't there another one? Oh, this is it. Yeah.
That's the one. Yes.
Let's put them both right
Put them right on the stand. Yes, your uniform. Pretty incredible. And your dog tags.
I don't remember. This is the most authentic book I know of.
You know what would be great is if we could take a tableau-like picture, a still with the uniform and the dog tags on it and the picture. Like an opener or.
Now that was taken in 1941 for my mother, in the fall of 41, that picture, and I sent it home for her. So that is 61 years old, isn't it? And when my mother died, the family told me to take it.
What we need to show his dog tags, and actually you can just kind of hold him up.
You want me to talk while this is going on?
I think you could just let him start getting the shot and then you can talk about it.
Let me know when to go.
Yeah,
Pull this stand down just a little bit, Mr. Chairman, just a foot.
I can scooch it over. How's that, better?
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
These are dog tags that we wore, that we were issued when we went in the Marine Corps. And I received these actual dog tags in September of 1941. I wore them all through the war, through action, through sickness in the hospitals, and I still have them. The original dog tags, which say H. Hutton, and my serial number, and my O negative blood type, the same card and everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
Settle this in. Oh, wait till he gets the shot.
All right.
I'll put my finger over here. Better stand up, hadn't I?
Yep.
Now let me know when you when to talk. Now this is a picture taken by Richard Tregaskis, the life photographer, who went with us on some of our patrols. And this was in September of 1942 in Guadalcanal. And I was a field radio operator. And we stopped here in this little clearing for a noon break. And this is me right here. Actually, you can. I still got the trans receiver unit on my back. I'm leaning back against it. You can see the antenna sticking up here. This is the power pack we have to hook to it when we want to send a message. And over here, just outside the picture, is a guy with the what they call the signal generator, which is a crank type thing to furnish A power to the operation. I looked for years for this picture, and I finally found it in this old book, years afterwards, because I remembered him taking the picture. I was looking right at him. Some atrocity.
Now if you step right back over here, sir. Come right over. One more step to your. There we go. Now we got some light on you. We can see. Okay. Go ahead and describe what you got there.
Well, this is a jacket that I've had ever since I come out of the Marine Corps. I don't know exactly what year I got it, but this thing is almost 60 years old. These are my corporal stripes that I earned. This stripe here represents 3 years in the service. You see them on Price is Right and different programs, and each stripe represents 3 years. If a guy's got 4 stripes, he's been in at least 12 years. This here is my Guadalcanal patch, which was the patch that represents the 1st Marine Division. And the stars are the Southern Cross, because that's where we were in the southern part of the world. And the 1 is the 1st Division. I also, I don't have my cap with me, but we also had a Presidential Unit Citation with 1 star. This over here is called a nickname, the Ruptured Duck. When I was discharged in California, and they issued these patches, these little emblems, to put on the uniform so that when we come back across the country, the military police wouldn't bother us. They would know that that's what it represents. Otherwise, it might think we are AWOL someplace.
You talked about the book, and we should probably at least copy stand this.
It's the most authentic book I've seen on the Battle of Guadalcanal. It was written by an officer who was in the 1st Marine Raiders, who was there, and he knows what it's all about. His name is Samuel B. Griffiths II. And what he did after the war, he somehow got information of what the Japanese were doing at a parallel time of what we were doing. So you got one chapter will be telling what we're doing, and then the other chapter will tell what the Japs are doing at the same time. So it'll give you a good picture, an idea of what was going on. It's the most authentic book I've seen on Guadalcanal. And by the way, it's available at Barnes & Noble, but you have to order it. What?
Oh, it's going to be a while. It's going to take a while for it, probably.
You think I'll still be alive?
I certainly hope so. I think we should have a party when it premieres. What do you think? I think we should have a big party and invite them. I think I should go say hello to our other guests.
Here, I thought I'd be a half an hour and I'm longer.
Yeah.
No, I'm not though, not really.
It was
Because
about
I didn't
an
start
hour.
till way after 2.
It was about I think it was maybe quarter after. Here we go. Let's get on with our, I have that from you, this. Take your notes if that's all right. That's great, Wade, if you got that. I think that just, yes, that's so nice. I think it's gonna be
Boy,
great.
that's clear, isn't it?
Yes, doesn't it look great? Yeah. Yeah, looks good.
That in focus?
Looks good, yes. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the one then, right there.
that's the one.